Hey, what's going on, guys? So, the 20th anniversary update for WoW has just been announced, and with it, Holy Paladin just got their second rework for the War Within already. There's a ton to unpack here, so let's just dive right into it. The first thing I want to dive into is the following talents that have been removed. So, Seal of Crusader for Red and Prot doesn't really apply to us. Vanguard's Momentum for Holy, that was just a dead talent we really didn't play, so that's definitely a welcome change. Golden Path, which was just a little bit of AoE healing, basically off of Consecrate. Nothing huge, something that I personally disliked a lot. So for moving away from that Consecrate kind of playstyle, I definitely like that. And then here's a really big one. Strength of Conviction has been removed. So that was what buffed your Word of Glory and your Shield of the Righteous while you were standing inside of Consecrate. So again, another talent moving away from Consecrate. I personally really like that. Then we have some small ones like removal of Fading Light, Seal of Order, and Seal of Mercy has been removed, nothing crazy there. Touch of Light, Incandescence, and Avenging Wrath Might, which I'm pretty sure they baked into the normal cooldown, which is definitely massive. So as far as the new talents that we're actually getting here, the first one is called Holy Ritual. Allies are healed when you cast a blessing spell on them, and then healed again when the blessing spell ends. So we're going to have to see how that is tuned out. I think it's a little bit niche, but that is definitely a cool addition. The next talent we have is called Worthy Sacrifice. You automatically cast Blessing of Sacrifice on the allies within 40 yards when they receive damage while below 35% health, and you are not in a loss of control effect. This effect activates 100% of Blessing of Sacrifice's cooldown. So, I don't know. I don't know about that. The fact that it activates Sac's cooldown, I don't know how much you're really going to want to be taking this. I would have loved to see something where maybe when you sack an ally, you had an echo of it, like a reduced portion go on the nearby allies or something more of that nature. But again, another niche pick, something cool. The next talent is called Steed of Liberty. Divine Shield also grants Blessing of Freedom for 3 seconds, so that's pretty big. We love that. Eye for an eye, melee and ranged attackers receive holy damage each time they strike you during Ardent Defender or Divine Protection and Divine Shield. So that definitely seems geared more towards prot, but another cool talent. The next one is called Stoicism. The duration of stun effects on you is reduced by 20%, 10% in PvP combat. That feels more PvP oriented, but again, like I said, a lot of these talents have been really niche, but pretty cool all in all. We had a lot of talents that really weren't worthwhile taking anyways, and we were locked into things, so maybe this will open it up a little bit. We have another one, Turn Evil's cast time is reduced by 100%, and one that bakes into with it Stand Against Evil. So Turn Evil now affects 5 additional nearby enemies. So going into the season, the only undead dungeon we really have is something like Necrotic Wake. But if we saw more undead dungeons, this could be really strong. This could be like really, really good. We have another talent called Righteous Protection. Blessing of Sacrifice now removes and prevents all poison and disease effects. So that's a cool talent. I could definitely see it. Something like first boss in Academy last season. Could have seen it for like the first tree boss or something. The cooldown of Repentance and Blinding Light are reduced by 15 seconds, so that's another great one. Just a little CDR on some of our CC. So definitely there's one that actually kind of gives you more, not throughput per se, but more of your utility, which is huge. We have another one called Sacred Strength. Holy Power spending abilities are 2% more effective, but it is a choice node with Divine Purpose. So to be honest, you're not going to take that for 2%. And we have another talent here, Divine Spurs. Divine Steed's cooldown is reduced by 20%, but its duration is reduced by 40%. Another one, a Just Reward. After Cleanse successfully removes an effect from an ally, they are healed. Now here's actually a really big talent change. Lay on Hands grants the target 100% increased armor for 30 seconds and now ignores healing reduction effects. So that is pretty massive, especially the season with the tanks taking all the nerfs they took. Having that armor increase for 30 seconds, which is huge. That's a really long time. That is a pretty massive talent. We have another really cool one called Light Bearer. 10% of all healing done to you from other sources heals up to 4 nearby allies, divided evenly amongst them. So that is a really cool talent, and I could see that that's definitely raid oriented, but I could see that for like all paladin specs really. And now we're getting into some juicy stuff here. We have another one called Selfless Healer. Flash of Light and Holy Light are 30% more effective on your allies, and 40% of the healing done also heals you. So I don't necessarily know how I feel about getting more into a caster-oriented playstyle for Holy Paladin. I had thought we really moved past that, as we were in that kind of like hybrid in-between role for a while. But the power of that alone does sound like it could be pretty strong, so that's definitely an interesting choice. And now we're about halfway through the list. There are so many changes, this is actually nuts. We have another one called Inspired Guard. Ardent Defender and Divine Protection increase healing taken by 15% for their duration, so that's probably oriented realistically towards prop. We have another one, Holy Reprieve. Your forbearance duration is reduced by 10 seconds. I don't know how strong that really is. You know, I feel like it would need to be reworked completely, you know, where you don't get forbearance or something of that nature. I don't know if just reducing the cooldown by 10 seconds for those rare times that you need that overlap, if that's going to be worthwhile. We have another one, Light's Revocation. Removing harmful effects with Divine Shield heals you for 10% for each effect removed. This heal cannot exceed 30% of your maximum health. Divine Shield may now be cast while Forbearance is active. So that's the big one. That's the big part. The heal on it, I wasn't super impressed with, but the fact that you can use it while Forbearance is active, that kind of goes into what I was just talking about with Holy Reprieve. If they would do something more along those lines, that is super valuable. And the next one is Blessed Calling. Allies affected by your blessings have 15% increased movement speed. Lead the Charge. Divine Steed reduces the cooldown of 4 nearby allies' major movement abilities by 3 seconds. Your movement speed is increased by 3%. That could also be pretty cool. Gonna be honest, especially I would say in Mythic Plus, like key content depends where it competes for, but if it's up there where the other Crusader, you know, the other Steed talents usually are, that could be a really nice just kind of free pick, you know, free talent point. You need to spend it to move down the tree, and that could be pretty nice. We have another one, Divine Reach. The radius of your auras is increased by 20 yards. So now into some juicy stuff. We have some talents that have been redesigned here. The first one is Fist of Justice. The cooldown of Hammer of Justice is reduced by 15 seconds. So that definitely huge, more access to your CC. We love that. Sanctified Wrath has been redesigned, and it now increases the duration of Avenging Wrath. That is great. We really enjoy that. Consecrated Ground is now a class tree talent. Nice change. Auras of the Resolute now additionally teaches the Paladin Crusader aura. Nice little quality of life change. Seasoned Warhorse is now passive, learned at level 40. Big ups there, we love that. Here's some good stuff. Judgment damage increased by 10%. So Holy Paladin is doing pretty bad damage right now. We're pretty low. I don't think 10% the judgment is going to do what we need it to do, but we will take it. We will definitely take it. Judgment cooldown has been reduced by 1 second. Hammer of Justice base cooldown is reduced by 45 seconds. So that is huge with that talent that reduces it by 15 seconds. So if we're getting a 30-second Hodge basically, that is massive. Avenging Wrath now increases critical strike chance by default. So this is what they were taking out earlier with Avenging Wrath Might. It's just baked in now by default. That's definitely a welcome change. It felt like such a useless talent to have to take for no reason, but you had to take it. Unbound Freedom now additionally targets a nearby ally by default if you cast Blessing of Freedom on yourself. Lightforged Blessing now heals for 3% of your maximum health, with 1% for Holy. Of Dusk and Dawn, Blessing of Dawn's effect has been increased by 10% for Pride and Ret and 5% for Holy Paladin. Divine Toll's icon has been updated. We have a couple talents that have changed, so they are now 1 point for Fist of Justice and Holy Aegis, and now 2 points for Vengeful Wrath and Zealot's Paragon. And then we have some pretty big Lightsmith changes. New talent, Successfully Interrupting an enemy spellcast reduces your rebuke's cooldown by 1 second, and then tempered in battle. When you or an ally wielding a Holy Bulwark are healed above maximum health, transfer 100% of the overhealing to your ally. So that's pretty big. The biggest issue with Lightsmith Paladin right now is that the healing is just behind. And I really enjoy Lightsmith. I've been playing it a lot recently, but the healing is a little bit behind. I don't know if this necessarily does it. Like, it's really going to put it in line, but it definitely is a step in the right direction for it. And then we have some just general holy changes. Word of Glory healing increased by 5% and Shield of Righteous damage increased by 10%. But this is because of the strength of Conviction talent going away. So a couple things with this. First and foremost, it needed to be 10% for Word of Glory as well. There's no reason to essentially just nerf it 5% is really what we're doing. And then also, I would have loved to see Shield buffed a little bit more. I mean, 10%. Again, this is just the makeup for the talent, and our damage is so low right now, and the fact that we have to choose to use our holy power to spend it, and it now is on a GCD, a little bit extra would have been nice. It just would have made it feel more impactful. So as far as what this means for Holy Paladin, I would just say that we're getting more streamlined talents, more niche picks, and really just not being forced to play around consecration so much with things like Strength of Conviction being removed and just opening up the talent tree, the more interesting options like we're getting by removing things like Avenging Wrath Might and baking into the actual Wings cooldown. So it's really hard to say where it's going to be. We kind of need to see some numbers and some tuning, but I will say the first rework for the War Within already for Holy Paladin has been amazing. It has felt really, really great. And if they're going in this same direction, then I think the second one we can safely say is probably going to be the same. I'm excited. It's opening up a ton of dead talents that have been so boring to play on Holy Paladin. But let me know what you guys think. Let me know how you like the rework, if you think this is the right direction we want to move for Holy Paladin, or if there's things you really didn't like about it. But that is going to wrap it up for today. As always, thank you guys for watching. Consider liking and subscribing as it does help the channel out a ton, and I'll catch you next time.